Hey, I'm Tim, and welcome to the Mr. Maple Show.
Hey guys, I'm Matt. Welcome to the 10 at 10 for January 17th of 2023. It's cold, it's raining, but the show must go on. We've got new plants for you, even all winter long. We hope you enjoy this rendition of the 10 at 10.
Yeah, make sure you like, subscribe, and get involved in the live chat if you're watching this as this video is getting live. We got a great community in the live chat, but as always, you better check out very quickly because a lot of these plants we'll be talking about today are going to sell pretty quickly. So first off, we've got Acer palmatum CN Kaku.
Oh guys, now this one could easily be considered part of that Macawa family. We kind of stick a lot of things in that Macawa family now. CN Kaku is a nice Macawa-like plant with an even faster growth rate.
Yeah, I mean, it's got that same tightly layering, shingling habit. A little bit smaller leaf than Macawa yetsubusa, but that same layering habit with a little bit faster growth. An amazing plant. Was brought back from Japan in 2008, and this plant puts on some really good fall colors, extremely heat tolerant. But if you're looking for something like Macawa yetsubusa, but something that's going to get in that 8 to 10 foot in height range, CN Kaku is a perfect candidate.
Yeah, there's a great specimen of this in Maplewood Gardens there at my parents' home. We also have a Macawa yetsubusa there in that garden. And as the two have aged out, the CN Kaku got there much faster, but it's tightening up some. People really like that one. A lot of people go, well, how old's this Macawa yetsubusa? So it is one that gets out there a little bit faster, starts to tighten up more in the older growth. Lovely plant to be growing, very heat tolerant. I like that it has those elongated branches with that tight shingling on it. It makes it look really unique, almost looks weeping sometimes when it's young, but it will make more of an upright Macawa-like shape.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay guys, so next we've got one of our most popular dwarfs we've ever offered here at Mr. Maple. That's Acer palmatum Seiho.
Seiho has extremely small leaves. It's a vigorous dwarf. Great tree for containers or for bonsai.
12 people in the comments just said, I want the one in Matt's hand. I can see it right now. That live chat loves to comment on what we got in our hands. I'm always pulling weeds too, so they always tell me that, but not too many weeds this time of the year at least. Awesome compact tree. This one makes more of a globular shape for that Hime style foliage. Bright purple border to this one with a green eye in the early spring. It's one of my favorite of that dwarf compact spring interest plants. It does make more of a small globe. Now we've often called this one the quintessential bonsai for that very reason. It puts on a lot of interior growth as well, so it's very forgiving, but also very shapeable.
Now, all of our trees are grafted at MrMaple.com that we offer, unless we say this is from rooted cutting. You can actually take rooted cuttings off of these and do a bonsai, you know, if you're a traditionalist, or you can turn this tree that we've got here that's a grafted 1 gallon into a bonsai as well.
Awesome plant, great container plant, awesome for the small area garden. I love it. It's going to be a little bit more ball shaped. So don't think of this one like Kiyohime, where Kiyohime is low and flat, more of that toadstool. This one's more of a small globe and also smaller foliage. This one can naturally get to some of the smallest foliage of any Japanese maple.
Where Kiyohime has a lot of horizontal growth, Seiho actually has more of that upright growth to it. And I've been told that the name Seiho means paradise.
Awesome small one. They're actually the first video on the Mr. Maple channel here about 11 years ago is on Seiho.
Yeah, you can see a Tim 11 years ago and a much skinnier Tim 11 years ago.
Next, I'm the same weight.
Next up, we've got Acer palmatum Osakazuki.
Guys, this one is sure to be in our top sales of 2023 video if we do one. It's always popular. I don't know that we offered enough in 2022 for it to hit the top mark, but these sell out pretty quickly. You guys asked us to do more Osakazuki, so we started beefing up numbers on this. It is one of the most popular fall color Japanese maples. Now you know this one for being a lush green to almost mint green in the spring. Lovely coloration on it there, but that fall color is where Osakazuki really shines. This one hits some of the most electric shades of red of any Japanese maple.
Now it may trick some people because when it first starts fall color, it goes to a dark red, and then as that fall color progresses, it brightens and gets to its intensity of red that everyone knows Osakazuki for. I've often saw Osakazuki in that dark red form and think, man, I've missed it in fall color this year. And then a week later, it's just the most intense red I've ever seen. Osakazuki, one of the best fall color Japanese maples.
Always popular as well.
So next up, we've got Acer palmatum Seki yetsubusa.
Guys, it's another one from that Macawa family on the 10 at 10. There's actually 3 Macawa family members here today, so there's another one coming up as well.
Seki yetsubusa has Seka-like growth, and what that means is that the buds, there's multiple buds at each intersection of the nodes. And that gives this plant a very unusual growth and sometimes gives it some really interesting fasciations towards the end that can be really flattened and curl.
Yeah, it's super unique. I have a nice size one of these in my garden. We'll have to do a highlight on it this spring. It gets some really funky growth to it, and it's one that just continues to shock you. I mean, it can almost look like a little cactus there, especially in the winter months for some of that bud formation. It really breaks the definition of acer, which is alternating, repeating buds. And this one definitely can send out non-alternating, non-traditional formations on that bud, and it really looks pretty funky, especially even out of leaf. I think it can be quite ornamental in its design.
In leaf, this is a great mid-sized Japanese maple. It's going to have some green leaves that give you some really nice oranges to reds in the fall. A classic Japanese maple from Japan that is very unusual and very different.
Now this might be a little trickier because buds come out of everywhere, but somebody do a bonsai with this one. It would be a really cool bonsai. It's got smaller overall foliage. It could get a little bit of a border to it in the early spring. Really showy plant though. And I think if somebody did a bonsai with that, now again, it's going to come out with non-traditional bud formation, so you're going to have to work a little harder, but it can make some really unique shapes.
And we've got some good 1-gallons with some thick bases to really start on this one too if you want to do a bonsai.
Guys, next up on the table, we've got one of my favorite of the new Ghost, Acer palmatum wave leaf.
Wave leaf is one of my favorite Japanese maples. This plant...
Hey, don't start that again.
This plant really has some really nice lavender colors to purple with a shiny, glossy leaf.
Guys, you may have heard us say this story before, but this was a tree that Talon Buchholz hadn't selected. He had it there in a sales pile as a seedling, and everybody that kept coming to the nursery kept going, I want that one, to the point where he goes, well, maybe I better pull that back. Maybe this merits another look. And I'm certainly glad he did, because I love how shiny this leaf is. It's hard to capture in a picture. This one in person is one of my very favorite reticulated Japanese maples. It's a purple, glossy, wavy leaf as the name describes, but it also has a very nice sheen over each and every leaf. I think it just gives it something a little bit to put this one over the top. Really makes it interesting.
I think so too. This is a Japanese maple. The more people see it in person, the more and more it's become popular. Photos don't do it justice, although we have some great photos of it. This plant is spectacular.
We recently did, and it hasn't probably aired at the time you're watching this, a top 50 introductions podcast by Talon Buchholz with special notes sent to us from Talon Buchholz. You'll have to watch that podcast to see where Waveleaf falls.
So next up, we have Acer pictum Hoshiadori.
Guys, I love Acer pictums. They're some of my favorite plants. They're some of the coolest new plants from Japan. I don't think they've hit their full, popularity even in America yet. They're some of our most popular plants. They sell out quickly, but I think the mainstream hasn't even found out how wonderful Acer pictum is. These are very unique maples. We're grafting these variegated Acer pictums onto truncatum, which makes them even more heat tolerant here for the South. I think you want to check these out. They bring a lot to the table. Hoshiadori, no exception.
Hoshiadori has those large batwing leaves with some great yellow variegation. This plant really shows off. This is a plant that's going to sell out really quickly today. So every single week we get people emailing us and they say, I had it in my cart and it sold out. Well, our website doesn't actually hold it for you when you add it to your cart. You have to complete the checkout process and then it's held for you. So make sure you do that pretty quickly today because this one's going to sell out fast. But this is an amazing tree. The pictums are some of my favorite trees from Japan that are unusual, very different, and really stand out from the crowd.
Hoshiadori is fun. You can get some yellow, some white, and some green all in this at the same time, making it a super colorful plant. It stands out even with other Japanese maples in your collection, and it makes a perfect pairing with any of your palmatums. It's such a unique texture and color pattern. It's going to be a showstopper in your garden. I recommend planting it somewhere you want a focal point planting. All right, guys, next we have Japanese Princess. Now, if you know Japanese Princess, it's one of our favorite of those Makawa types. We definitely put this one in the Makawa family. Its lineage is from that Makawa Yatsubusa at Buchholz and Buchholz Nursery. Our good friend and mentor, Talon Buchholz, selected this. You'll have to watch that podcast to see where it falls on our list of top 50 Buchholz introductions.
I think this is one of the very first Makawa variants that was selected in the United States for color. And this thing is amazing. It can really give you some nice coral pinks to bright pinks in the early spring. If you give this tree some more sunlight in the early spring, you can get some little brighter pinks to it. This plant is very different from Makawa Yatsubusa though. It has the same tightly layering habit, but the leaf has this twisting, curling habit to it that really makes this tree very different on the leaf structure as well.
Very compact, a slower grower than Makawi Atsubusa also. Very ruffled. Now, if you get this one in a lot of sun in the early spring, if you're in an area that you can put Japanese Princess in more sunlight, it's going to be more of a neon pink. If you have it in a more shaded spot, it's going to be a light yellowish pink with kind of blonde or older growth with some intricate swirling over top of that. Either way, it is a showstopper. I love to put this one in a big container so you can put it out in a lot of different environments, move it around, play with it. It's an easy tree to pair with anything. It is so colorful, and it's a very easy tree to grow too. It's super durable as well.
Yeah, great for containers, great for bonsai. An awesome plant all the way around.
All right, we got a ginkgo peeking in here.
Yeah, Ginkgo biloba coronex.
Guys, check out our video on the secret behind ginkgo fall color. We break down why ginkgos get that amazing golden yellow. We had Augustin Coelho there with us at the Hopewood Estate. Definitely go check out that video. We get into a little of the science behind that amazing fall color of ginkgo trees. This one's a really fun one with a unique leaf shape for sure.
Yeah, this one has both your tube leaf and your regular leaf, and even some of those thread leaf types. This plant will get about 8 to 10 feet by about 8 to 10 foot tall and wide in 10 years. It's a newer selection from Poland, extremely rare in the nursery trade, but this is a good mid-sized ginkgo that'll give you some of that bright golden yellow fall color.
Now this is a good candidate to start out in a container. You can certainly put this in the ground as well. Alkaline soils work best. You hear us harp on this at our nursery, but you can lime them to get them growing much faster. So some people will say my ginkgo grows slowly. Some people will say my ginkgo grows quickly. And definitely the difference is, did they lime the tree? Does it have more alkaline soils? If you're liming this one, it's going to fill out much faster and make a more mature specimen. And that fall color, you know, is amazing on ginkgos. They're pretty consistent amongst most ginkgos, unless they're variegated. You can get a little variance. This one's going to have your standard amazing golden yellow fall color. And that's really when everybody calls us. People will find those ginkgos in their neighbor's landscape, and I'll start getting emails and pictures that say, what the heck is this? It's amazing. And typically it's a ginkgo.
Yeah.
Now we got some more gold here too. We're gonna break out some golden larch.
Yeah, there's not many deciduous conifers, but this is one of my favorite deciduous conifers. I fell in love with this plant, seeing this tree in fall color. And the golden larches, they have green needles that come out in the early spring. They look really unusual, really different, but in the fall, this goes to a bright golden yellow. And then they drop their leaves. They drop their needles, which is so unusual and so different. There aren't many deciduous conifers.
I love Pseudolarix. It's a beautiful plant. This is one that's gonna work zones 5 through zone 7. Now I have seen some people in zone 8 with this. Full disclosure, we listed up to zone 7. I've seen people growing this at some high heat, humid areas in the south with pretty good success. And that fall color is amazing. I love these in fall color. Really showy yellow as well. And it just adds a whole lot to the landscape. It's definitely a fun one to pair with some ginkgos to have some different yellows there in the garden. Put this around some Japanese maples like that Osakazuki, and they're both gonna really light up the show.
It's really popular for bonsai as well. I've seen people do some forests of them, but it's also really cool out in the landscape to do some mass plantings of Pseudolarix, because you get this mountain-like effect of this tree in fall color. It makes me think of going to Mount Fuji and seeing their Pseudolarix there.
At some point we have to go back. I found a broom on one of these when we were going up Mount Fuji, and yeah, we've marked it, but I've got to send it to some Japanese nurseryman and get them to graft that broom. Last but certainly not least, we've got Acer Shirasalanum Jordan.
Yeah, so this is an amazing Acer Shirasalanum with some really good yellow color.
Check out our Acer Shirasalanum series, part 1 through 250. We break down our favorite Acer Shirasalanums. I don't think it's going through 250, but maybe 7 or 8. And we talk about some of our favorite full moon Japanese maples. You gotta see Jordan on that list. It's definitely one of our favorites. We also did a video of one of our former stock plants at Dr. Criticos' house. There's a massive specimen. This one is neon yellow in the early spring, brighter than Tim's shirt. It's gonna bring the color, and I love this one, especially in that early spring garden. Large, full moon style foliage, intense color, and some showy samaras on this one as well.
I didn't realize how much yellow we had on this
Right.
10 at 10. We got some ginkgos going to yellow fall color, golden larches, and Jordan. As you can tell, I love the color yellow, and this plant really brings the heat. I mean,
now, Jordan actually goes to like a bright red in the fall, so
yeah.
you get even more intensity. I've had it oranges, 2 reds, but one of the most intense spring yellows of any plant in our nursery.
Now, one thing to keep in mind when you see this on some new growth, the new growth leaves may look very palmatum-like in the early spring, and that's because it is a hybrid with palmatum. But as this tree matures, the leaves start to get more and more rounded, often like Acer Shirasalonum aureum. But this plant is more vigorous, and this plant can really give you some bright, bright, bright yellows.
Guys, that's it for our 10 at 10 this week. Thanks so much for tuning in. Now, I'd like to give a special shout out to our good friend Michael James. He's such a big supporter of our show. We have a hat we're sending out to you, so just let Jody know where you'd like that sent. We're going to be sending you a hat. He's actually requested that Tim and Brian and I sign this hat for him, so we're signing it. Feel a little goofy signing autographs, but we're sending you one out. Hey, Michael, we appreciate your continuous support. You might know him in the chat under Maple Maniac. He's always in there and one of our biggest supporters and biggest friends, and we greatly appreciate all your support.
So today we talked about 10, but we're actually listing 20 trees today. So if you want to figure out the full 20 listing before 10 a.m. hits, sign up for our weekly email, and you'll get an email ahead that gives you the heads up on what's getting listed each and every Tuesday.
Guys, shout out to our international community. We can't ship to you guys. We only ship within the United States, but we greatly appreciate you guys being a part of our channel. And there's so many fun people telling us where they're from in that chat. Definitely, if you haven't already, tell us where you're viewing from today in that chat or in the comment section after. We greatly appreciate you guys getting involved, being a part of what we're doing here at Mr. Maple. We love providing daily content on gardening, especially focusing on Japanese maples. That's what this channel is all about. And so if you like that kind of thing, make sure to like and subscribe, but don't forget that sharing is caring. Share that with your friends and maybe we'll send you a hat.
Thank you all so much for watching. Take care.
God bless.
And have an awesome day.